鳴き声と食い交わせの以上そんな僕の未来を強く願う歌
So if you were to ask me what will win anime of the year, barring any miracles from the rest of the field, or if we stop playing games and finally consider Arcane an anime, which I doubt, then it will probably be Kaiju number 8 or the new My Hero season. But if you were to ask me what should win anime of the year, it's Windbreaker. Don't get me wrong, it has its faults. It's preachy, corny, takes a ton of suspension of disbelief. Like, where are the parents? Nah, for real, where are the Dukes at? Like, there's not an adult in sight for these kids. Nevertheless, the faults. It has its pacing issues. And I'd also like to mention that it's only been 13 episodes. So in a little 1-2 years from now, this anime could start to be ass. And my take here could age like spoiled milk. But I'm willing to take that risk because let me tell you, in the 13 episodes this anime has had, it nearly got me to feel something I haven't felt since Mob Psycho 100's first season. This anime is a heartfelt love letter to the male experience, and not in that weird, let's try to make men vicariously live through our story way that anime likes to do nowadays, namely your favorite isekai, but it's trying to actually talk to and sympathize through men going through a lot while giving them some genuinely good advice. Windbreaker is emotional, sometimes uncomfortable, and other times vulnerable, but it's also entertaining, fun, and stimulating. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes it's hard to watch, especially if some of those experiences have resonated with you in the past or present, but all of it is good to watch. I know calling an anime uncomfortable, but still saying it's the anime of the year might sound confusing. So I figured, why not just make a long ass video on it to see if you'll get me. So this video is why Windbreaker should win anime of the year, or some other title if it doesn't do well at first. So let's start with our main character, Haruka Sakura, who is a massive tsundere. Usually that would make me roll my eyes. I spent a lot of time talking about how I'm not a fan of female tsunderes, and don't worry, I'll get to male tsunderes in a future video. It's an annoying trope that needs to modernize immediately, but I think we've got a modern male tsundere in Haruka Sakura. I think this is exactly what this tsundere trope should be. A character who's snappy, short-tempered, rude, and sometimes out of pocket, but importantly not verbally abusive. Not because he's a bad person, in fact just the opposite, as his character introduction is not only one of the most badass character introductions in quite some time, but it also demonstrates he's a good character. See, Haruka puts the Sun in tsundere because he's damaged. Haruka grew up cast aside and rejected by everyone around him because of his look, specifically his hair and eyes, as well as the fact that he is socially awkward. So he had to develop defense mechanisms in order to survive, and one of those mechanisms is learning how to fight. He becomes a very good fighter with a tough exterior and a rugged personality, all to keep people away because he's afraid. And what is he afraid of? Well, he's afraid to let people get close. Here's the thing though, at the same time, he's a person who wants to do good by other people. With that being said, he thinks it impossible, so he's grown very cynical that a guy like him can do good. That's when he up and leaves to move to Makoshi in order to become the #1 fighter at Bofurin High, a high school that is rumored to be the best in terms of fighters, not academics, because of course not. Bofurin High is a school known to have a ton of delinquents who aren't just delinquents in name, but are some of the strongest fighters in any city. So in the attempt to move up the delinquent ranks, Haruka joins up with the school's gang. Bofurin, aka the Windbreakers, who are just like him, except they're a credit to their community, and even better, the community acknowledges how important they are. It's a complete culture shock to him. He's not really sure whether to trust this feeling. Now, first of all, I really have to give a shout out to the voice actor on the Japanese side, Yuma Uchida, who used his past experience playing tsunderes to good use, notably Kyo from Fruits Basket. Here he is given, arguably, a character with much more potential in Haruka Sakura. He really captures the character's swings between having a heart of gold, or being a menace, or being embarrassed, and in my opinion puts in a much better performance than the actor on the English side, Austin Tyndall. No shade to Tyndall, as he tried, and I'll always give someone credit for trying, but his performance seems a lot more stilted when trying to shift between the many emotions Haruka goes through. Alright, so quick note about this. So in general, I would say this anime is a sub over dub watch for sure. Now, the sub has the benefit of being first, the actors getting way more time with it, and us not knowing what they're saying. So we're really basing our enjoyment of the sub off of vibes. But at the end of the day, the dub wasn't really hidden like that, so sub. I only say that and interrupted the video just to say that if you are going to watch this anime, it's my recommendation to watch it in the sub and not go to the English dub here. Okay, back to the video. But second and more important, this is such a cool and important dynamic. Clearly, Haruka wants the world he's seeing in Makoshi to be his new reality, and he wants to dive into this world head first. But he's been so hurt by past experiences that he's so jaded, and as a result can't trust that this new reality will continue to exist. He believes that all of this is fleeting, and that if he starts giving in to just allowing himself to trust his surroundings, he will lose all of this and be hurt again. This is actually based on a real life fear called pistanthrophobia. Wow, what a wow. Look at your boy using big words. That's like a, forget $5 word, that's a $10 word right there. Okay, back on topic. Pistanthrophobia is basically a fancy word meaning the fear of trusting someone. Let me explain to you guys like this. Have you ever gone into a new romantic relationship or met a friend and they are extremely paranoid at acts of kindness, or they start interpreting mundane good but not over the top good actions as disrespect? This is usually a result of acute to extreme pistanthrophobia. To an extent, we all have this fear, but to some people, this can get really extreme. People who have extreme versions of this fear usually act out whenever they are shown kindness or respect because it's a defense mechanism in order to protect themselves from the disappointment of another person letting them down. In their mind, you can't be hurt by another person double crossing you if you were always on emotional high alert. On some level, I get it. Everybody I know has a story, so it's tough to get over that trauma. Now, coming back to Windbreaker, Haruka has a huge case of the pistantrophobias. Yes, I know that's not grammatically correct, but it's a joke. Just go with it, okay? Just run with me here, okay? Point is, this causes him to act out in paranoia. Whether it be that he doesn't believe that Bofurin's actions are altruistic, which I get, to not trusting why someone would thank them for saving their cat, to reluctantly accepting acts of kindness from strangers, which, come on man, to getting mad at a girl for serving him rice and giving him solid advice, which is an even more come on man. By the way, mandem and geldem, pro tip. If your crush is serving you food for free, or better yet, a home-cooked meal, don't get smart with them. That shit ain't cute. I don't care what your favorite anime said, that is how you end up alone or with a dozen cats. But, back to Windbreaker, it's even more than that. See, perhaps Haruka's biggest issue is that because of his fears, he's become very individualistic. Everything in his mind is about him. Even his motives to reach his goal of being the strongest fighter is based on selfish reasons. However, the reason he does this is not because he's inherently selfish, but it's because he's so hell-bent on not trusting anyone that he wants to be free from needing someone, because if you need someone, there's a possibility they will screw you in the end. This is why I think the show really speaks to me, because I really get why this fear exists. We all been screwed over by someone, and some people just take it hard, even in adulthood. So imagine a kid like Haruka where it's happened to them multiple times over. Thing is, being hyper individualistic is just simply put not how the real world works. And if Haruka continues on this path, he'll probably end up somewhere he'll regret later. Without being able to cooperate with people in this world, you simply cannot function properly. And to cooperate on some level with others, you have to trust them. So, Season 1 is not only an entertaining story of Haruka rising up the ranks of Bofurin, but it's also a message to men and boys everywhere through this story of unlearning their defense mechanisms of not trusting people. It's a story of other people's kindness and cooperation slowly breaking down that wall Haruka has built in the attempt to be protected from another traumatic experience. Which they kind of succeeded, because he goes from wanting to beat everybody up in Bofurin to going to use his talents to protect his classmates as his class rep by season's end. Anyway, point is that Haruka, in order to unlearn a lot of his bad habits, has a support system around him. And that's when we get into... So it's pretty clear that our boy Haruka is socially awkward and is a tad emotionally stunted. This has affected his ability to make some friends wherever he goes. It also doesn't help that he is used to being an outcast. So meeting Bofurin is a huge change in pace, but it's also his saving grace. What's important is that he meets people that he respects and also respect him back. This goes for everyone from his quirky and meek best friend Akihiko Nire, who isn't some crazy good fighter or anything. In fact, he's the opposite, but he's a database of knowledge. And then don't get me started on his other friend, Hayato Suo, the Wing Chun user. And there are many more. When Haruka goes to Furin High and makes these friends, he is looked at by them in his homeroom as someone to be respected, and then is given even more respect as the show goes on. This is despite his announcement declaring that he would whoop anyone upon arrival, and already having a rivalry with somebody because he makes that announcement. And speaking of which, let's talk about him. Haruka's rival, or at least what it seems like the show will position this gentleman as, is Kiyotaro Sugishita. Kiyotaro is a pretty lazy guy. He's introverted, doesn't talk much, and is always sleeping. He doesn't seem like much unless there is talk of anyone attempting to harm Hajime Umemiya. See, Hajime Umemiya is the leader of Bofurin, and honestly, for a delinquent anime like Windbreaker, he isn't the typical grunt. Well, honestly, most of these guys aren't. But Hajime is interesting in the sense that he stands out above the rest. See, he's thoughtful, kind, smart, understanding, friendly, and a goofball, but at the same time, strong, protective, and full of heart. Hajime, for storyline purposes, is kind of like the Shanks, the All Might, the Guildarts of Windbreaker, if you will. He is the visual representation of the endgame Haruka wants to reach by series end. Not just from a strength perspective either. Hajime is the kind of guy you want to go to war with and convince anybody to do so, Kiyotaro included. Deep down, Haruka wants to be that. However, it's not his time yet, and Hajime has so much love from everyone in Bofurin. So when Kiyotaro hears that Haruka wants to be top dog, that means he will inevitably try to usurp Hajime. Thus, violence ensues on the first meetup. It's funny because Kiyotaro is more upset about Haruka wanting Hajame's spot than Hajime himself. Actually, it's funny, Hajime is rooting for Haruka as he understands it's inevitable. But here's the thing though, we both know there's something that they don't want to admit, and by they I mean Haruka and Kiyotaro. They are both glad they are in Bofurin. Both people in any other situation in life would not do well. They need Bofurin to exist. That's why despite the two on the surface not liking each other, they will ride for each other. I haven't read a single chapter ahead in the manga past these 13 episodes, but I guarantee you, when the time comes for the top spot to switch over to Haruka, he will definitely not accept it without Kiyotaro's blessing because of this. Anyway, Bofurin is Haruka's support system, and they're helping him unlearn his bad habits by making him more trusting of others, which in turn will allow Haruka to function in regular life. But that's not the only support system he has. Everyone meet Kotoha Tachibana. She is the typical on the sidelines female character that on the surface does absolutely nothing. Kotoha is the server at the team's usual hangout spot, Cafe POTUS. She is also somehow 16 and isn't going to school. Like, for real, where are these youth's parents? Well, actually, hold on. In her case, they're not here. But still, where are her guardians? Where are her adults? Matter of fact, where are the adults to take care of these kids? They can't be making enough money to live on their own. Kotoha doesn't fight. She doesn't have any real influence in Bofurin from an individual point of view. Like, she's not a captain or anything. She's just cool with them due to the fact that she grew up in the same orphanage as Hajime, the aforementioned leader of Bofurin, which is the reason he calls her his little sister. But where her value to Bofurin, and more importantly the story, lies is her impact on Haruka here. See, the two met when Haruka saved her from some thugs, which then she proceeded to invite him to the cafe for a meal, and despite Haruka trying to keep his wall up, he relents. From there, she is kind of the voice of reason for him. When he is struggling with anything, she often gives him advice, which usually steers him towards the right direction. This to me signals what's so important about her. She's a character who can break down his walls. She's not the only character who does this, but I think it's really nice that we get a character like her and a relationship like they have. She's strong-willed, so she isn't just going to go along with the group or just back down to what Haruka says. She is smart, so she offers some good sound advice. She is sweet and understanding, so gets where Haruka is coming from, but is also a straight shooter and tells him as well as other people like it is. She is everything Haruka needs in a friend, but let's be honest, Haruka is clearly sweet on her and wants a romantic relationship with her. Oftentimes, anime fans, especially the ones I know, brace themselves for bad romance in an action shonen. But I think this is the one time where if they were to go with this angle, I gotta say I'm unopposed to it for now. I think it has Ed and Winry upside. Think about it, the male tsundere and the tough-willed female character. Both respect, listen, and get each other. It's that classic sitcom we all root for when done right, and something most people, men or women, want. It's aspirational, but aspirational in a good way. With all that said, besides being the female love interest that is dying out in media nowadays, why is Kotoha such a needed presence in the show? Well, see, Bofurin is important in the sense that Haruka needs them to unlearn his habits and have a good support system around him. But Kotoha is the one voice to make sure he doesn't backslide into his old habits when, let's say, Unamiya or other members leave. Hell, if some event causes members to change their thinking in Bofurin, Kotoha being there is such an important rock for Haruka to lean on as she is away from the drama. This, in my opinion, is a great way to write that no matter what, Haruka is going to be okay because she's in his life. For those who disagree, understand that the show has already shown this can happen when you don't have a Kotoha being there. On the screen, you're going to see some characters with these beautiful yellow bomber jackets. Those who wear this jacket are part of Shishitorin. All you need to know is that it is a gang headed by Choji Tomiyama, and he's backed up by his right-hand man, Joe Tagame. So there's an arc in the show where Bofurin goes to war against these guys, and what you were quick to find out is Shishitorin, despite being villainous now, was once a gang with noble guys, and the two top dogs in Choji and Joe had a noble vision for the group. But unfortunately, the two spiraled as a result of not necessarily having a support system to tell them when they're tripping. Choji was spiraling down, and Joe didn't have the guts to say anything, and then in the process, Joe also lost himself. Now, what's interesting about this spiral for both of them is that it wasn't like some cataclysmic event happened. It's not like some crazy life-altering event took place to both of them to cause a change in personality. No, just simply put, they became the top guys and started to spiral down from all that stress. So all that was missing for them was that no one was really there for them in their time of need. I think this is really cool of the show to do, where they didn't make some sort of out of this world life-altering event change these two. Simply put, they're just boys who need some sort of guidance, but didn't get that, and as a result, they strayed from the path. Now, eventually these two come back to their senses, but it took a gang war to do it. In my opinion, this is what makes a Kotoha in the story so important, because she is a person who on the outside gets Haruka and can reach him in the event of a backslide in thinking and mentality. Now, it's early, but for right now, she is that really important support system and guidance that Haruka needs to prevent that backsliding nature. I mean, one of the more interesting scenes was the idea of the conversation with the fist and how just through fighting Joe, Haruka became friends with him. Which means there's nothing to suggest that Haruka isn't susceptible to backsliding without Kotoha being there to offer advice. Point is that for right now, her role as advice giver in the story is meant to keep Haruka on the right path. Okay, so why do I love this anime so much, despite the fact that, according to all metrics, it's okay and just okay? Well, I think there's a need for anime like this that try to get to the male demographic, but are not the media equivalent to junk food, like let's say a Rising of the Shield Hero. Don't get me wrong, there's always a need for shows like that, but we need anime that are more like a wholesome, good meal. Preferably oven roasted. I guess the great analogy to that would be like a Zom 100. Windbreaker to me, I think, is definitely the latter, but what's different about Windbreaker as opposed to, let's say, a Zom 100 or a Mob Psycho 100 for that matter, is it has a lot of potential to be a long-running shonen. Now, I'll say this today, tomorrow, and for as long as I live. Anime is not a replacement for therapy for these boys. But I believe there's a lot of use for anime like this when it comes to supplementary feel-good stories for men and boys. That's why, to me, even with its admitted flaws, Windbreaker is worth way more than its 7.7 rating on MAL and should be in the running for Anime of the Year. Okay, so those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Sorry this one took so long, but it's one that deserved a lot of care. I do have a lot of videos that I'm thinking of coming out in the pipeline, so be on the lookout for that. Those should come out more regularly. Also, I have some news. As all of you may or may not know, I've been trying to make channel memberships mean something. I've gave it some thought and I finally have a couple ideas on how to do so. 1. Channel members will get first priority for video requests. This means that if you have a video idea and would like me to do it, become a channel member to request it and I'll upload it sooner. 2. Members will get first priority on comment replies. I think that's obvious on what that means. And 3. Channel members will get updates on the channel a day in advance. My hope is that this will make it so that being a member means something, but at the same time is reasonable enough that it doesn't make regular channel subs feel alienated. Okay, other than that, that's pretty much it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment down below if you have an opinion on stuff. And yeah, thanks, and later, everyone.
I said off the rip, I don't care what they say. Spin the block, let it rip like some Beyblades. Got them holding on to they damn crucifix. I'm shutting everything down. Mwah, Pluto's kiss. Got them like, who is this? Malik with the newest. I got it and I ain't losing it. I'm too smart, too clever. I'm going full demon mode. Inuyasha can never. Now that we are here, the ops really want peace. Team full of crew villains carry more than one piece. Married to the streets, got down on one knee. Team eating real good, teethering on gluttony. I heard all the chirping, and I heard the beacon too. You claim you got a cannon, you just might need two. Heard you talking big, I'll give you a week or two. We are gonna turn you into ash if we get a Pikachu.